Hello, viewers. Welcome to your favorite show, Shantia's Haven. How are you doing? How has it been? I hope the parenting journey is not very difficult. We are learning every day on Shantia's Haven how to make it a better place in our families and thus the society. Today on Shantia's Haven, there is yet another interesting topic, one that is almost neglected by many. We don't see it as something important, but it is very vital to our society, especially those who come from a certain kind of background. Today on Shantia's Haven, we'll be talking about culture and our lineage. We have someone fit for that. She would share with us some of her personal experiences, and we will learn a lot from the rich package she has for us. Today on Shantia's Haven, we have with us Christy Acho Ebako. Hello, Christy. You're welcome to Shantia's Haven.
Hello, thank you very much.
It's a pleasure that you're here with us, and thank you for honoring our invitation.
Pleasure is mine.
Okay. Today we want to talk about culture. We are from Africa, and African society, we uphold this culture very much in high esteem. But I realize that most children nowadays know very little or nothing about their culture. They know very little or nothing about their lineage. What can you say about that?
Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity to be able to talk to you and to be able to talk to the audience here about the culture. I think culture is a very vital issue as far as we Africans are concerned. And one of the greatest limitations to children not having a knowledge of this culture, I believe very much, is the parents.
Okay.
Parents don't give very much of influence as far as culture and heritages are concerned. And I can attest to that I'm a witness.
You can attest to that you're a witness. So can we know, can you tell or throw more light on you being a witness to this?
Yeah, very much. I grew up with, it's true, my parents are both from the same region, but in Cameroon there are various cultures and tribes, two different tribes. And I was that child who grew up not to know the language, not to know where I came from. My dad had a Western influence. He schooled throughout in Britain, and to him everything Africa was some kind of dark and black. And he didn't give me any opportunity to meet my aunts, meet my uncles, not to talk about meeting the relatives of my parents. In fact, my mom's people were some kind of, which this one has this bad culture, so don't just go there. And I was that child who grew up not to go for even vacations. I didn't know that. I knew just my dad and I knew just my mom. And so it became very difficult for me growing up not to speak my language, not to speak the language of my mom or my dad. You can imagine how embarrassed I felt sometimes in school, or when I met friends, or when I was even in the society. And the worst of it is that I was later on blamed in life for not speaking the dialect by my same dad. It's ridiculous, but that's the truth. And because I wasn't given that opportunity, it made me grow up in a kind of, central point. Being an African child without the culture, sometime later my children went to school and they told me, "Mommy, do you know how they call people who don't know how to speak their language or don't know their heritage?" I was so interested. And I said, "I don't know." And my daughter said, "My teacher told me you're a cultural mulatto."
So, Jesus Christ, a cultural mulatto. So, dear parents, please, let's help our children so that they're not called cultural mulatto.
Yeah, that's interesting. And so that was the kind of experience I had. And sometimes when I grew up in my later days in life, and I began to realize the importance of acculturizing myself, the importance of getting close to my relatives. I was also growing to be a mom, and later on I met the realities of it. Now my dad wasn't alive anymore, my mom wasn't alive anymore, and I was left to myself. How do I meet these same aunts who were seen to be like, okay, they have their own kind of style and it couldn't fit to the way my dad wanted us to grow up? I had to meet them. They weren't there to guide me. And I had to close my eyes, face the shame, and embrace these aunts who were all willing to help me and guide me in life.
Wow. Dear parents, listening to Christy's story there, it is a call for concern. Please, let us teach our children something about their culture. You may not know it all, but you want to teach that little aspect of the culture to them and let them know their lineage. Even if you're not in good terms with the people around you as your relatives, let them have an idea that this person is this person is. Let them just know. You may never see Christy's case here. She had to go look for that information herself after the parents died. The parents left her with no option but to find those same people that they kept her away from. So what is your take? What will you tell parents? How can they help? Because now you're a mom, you have children. How do you manage it? How do you help to correct that mistake?
Thank you very much, and that's a very important question, because I was talking to somebody and sharing this experience, and this is what the person told me. The person said, but you didn't have any problems at all. How does culture help us in our present modern society? You know, the Android trend, the modern trend, how does the culture help? How does speaking our language help the child to move forward? Does it put money in their pockets? And that is all about, the trend out there. But I want to tell you, identity is very important. And as a parent, we should always endeavor to make our children identify where they are coming from. Because it's true, it's not about putting the money in their pockets, but it's what gives them that confidence to be able to face the realities of the society. It's what gives them that pride of where they come from. There is nothing as happy and as so enriching as being able to confidently face where you're coming from. And as parents, we should be able to give our children that opportunity. Let's bring them closer to our relatives. Let's teach them our language. Let's teach them our culture. Let them have an idea where they are coming from.
In a situation where the parents come from two different backgrounds, like the cultural difference is really huge, how can they manage this?
I think in my case, I'll put my case at first, because presently I'm coming from the Southwest region and I'm married to someone who is coming from the Northwest region. And I happen not to know very much about my culture. It's true, I made a lot of research, I made a lot of efforts to know a little bit of it. But my husband, coming from Menchun, is somebody who is a complete opposite of me. He grew in the culture, he knows very much about heritage. He has made a lot of efforts to buy Bibles in the Agum language. He teaches the children the language at home. And I joined the children to learn my husband's language because that's where I belong now. And so I can easily identify. So yes, I thought that there is a way forward. So I'm identifying myself to that. And together with the children, we are making efforts to learn that.
So does that mean your children don't know anything about your own culture since you're embracing your husband's culture?
Of course they do, because the little that I know, I'm also able to teach them. Okay. Now these children go to school and they ask them questions. Where does your mom come from? Where does your dad come from? And you know how inquisitive our children are now. They are like, okay, mommy, how do they say good morning in your language? I should be able to learn that basics to say, oh, in Bakosi they say asange, in Bafo they say wili, and in Womb where your dad comes from, they say wombi. And being a blend of that culture is so beautiful. That brings the beauty of it all.
Okay, so they have to learn both. And peu de tout, as the Frenchman will put it. Yes, a bit here and a bit there. Yeah. That's interesting, Christy. What about relatives? Because you also raised an issue about not knowing your relatives, who they are. How do you advise the parents and the guardians out there to help the children know their relatives? Because nowadays, I want to believe some parents keep the children away because of the way the society is. They say it's becoming bad. It's not like it used to be in our good old days and all of that. So how can they bridge this gap? How can they help these younger ones to at least know their relatives?
Sometimes the parents have a lot of fear for these children. But I'll have something to say. It's not about you wanting to protect these children. It's about God who has given you those children to take care of them. In as much as you want to be very careful about them, but allow them to be able to breathe, allow them to feel the space of their identity. Now, I have this experience to share. You realize in One of the opportunities I had an opportunity to partake in a marking session. That's the GC marking session. And that year, I was called to mark the exam, but I wasn't aware because informations and letters of invitations didn't reach our various destinations due to the crisis and all that. And I was called to mark that exam. I wasn't aware. And it's my aunt, that's my mom's stepsister, her husband. He heard my name being called in the hall. Ebako, he heard the name Ebako sounded many times. For about 2 days, and that was the last day. If I didn't show up, I would have been cancelled completely from that program. And so he rushed back to the wife and said, hey, I can hear your sister's child being called here. And she was like, okay. They struggled and had to call like many people to reach me because they didn't even have my number. You can imagine that separation. And when they got my number, they called me. I was in Yaoundé and like, you have to report to the Southwest immediately. And that same aunt and that same uncle who were seen like distant from me, they were the ones who fought that situation for me. I got to the Southwest about 11 p.m. stranded. He came with his car, took me from the bar, got me home, and he was able to present the situation to my chief examiner to say, this is the situation, the information, and I was incorporated in the marking session.
Wow.
Now, keep that situation aside. What if I didn't have that opportunity? So with this experience, please, parents out there, let's give our children the opportunity to be close to these aunties. Let's leave this situation of African aunts being witches and wizards and all that. Let's not make our children to grow in the fear of knowing that their relatives are some bad people. Let's build them to be responsible enough to know that these relatives are loving people just like their parents.
Wow, that is a tough one there because it comes with mixed feelings. Because there are some relatives who you're really scared because of some things that you've seen them do to you. So you just want to protect those children. You just want to protect, but you also try to, you also answered that question by saying that these children are God's own too. So we can't think that we are overprotecting them. Just like we can say that we can't love them more than God does. Because who knows, what if in school they also meet bad friends? Right. So it's the same situation there. So,
teaching them that act of responsibility will make them to be away from the situation.
Thank you. Dear parents, just to add to what Christy has said, it is also good that they should know, even if they can't know, if your family is large, they can't know the whole lot of the steps and the whatever, but make it a duty that they know those your immediate siblings. There are some children who don't know their uncles and aunts, the very immediate ones. They don't know their cousins. They just know them casually or passing or something. It's good that you let them know. To make it your duty, let them know. When they grow up, they'll decide whether they want to relate or not with those people. But you should tell them, this is your this. You may have pictures of those people. Let them see the pictures and know them and know their cousins. We have situations of people who have only met at the university level, and that's when they discover that they were all relatives. Others have met at the scene where they are getting married, and you come with your cousin and say you want to get married, and it's a taboo in some regions, but because they didn't know, they were not aware. Now they are faced with things to start breaking hearts and all of that, and who knows what will happen to those kids if they really do not know their relatives. Lineage and culture is very important in our society. So Christy, I don't know if you have any last word for our audience.
One more word for our audience. Please, let's encourage our children to identify where they are coming from. There is something very particular I learned from the Nigerian culture. No matter where they grow, no matter where they are, even those African children who find themselves in the West, Indians and Nigerians, they never detach them from the culture. The culture of respect is still embedded in those children. The culture of identity is still embedded in those children. When we see good things, let's copy as Africans. Please, let's identify our children to our African culture. Thank you.
Let's identify our children to our culture. It is important because it is a good thing. So please, parents, make it a duty this week, make it a duty this month, and make it a duty forever to teach your children how important their culture is. Don't take the culture out of the kids, even if they are out of their region of origin. Thank you so much for watching Shantia's Haven today, and never forget to leave it better than you met it. See you some other time. Bye-bye.